Questionable school rules. Schools love making rules, but some of them are straight up nonsense. Like, who sat down and thought, yeah, this will improve the education? If you've experienced this or similar, why not consider subscribing? I'm sure you'll love the relatable content. Let's go. So starting off with the uniform rules. Not being able to wear trainers to school, but you can wear these flat shoes that are literally the same thing but considerably uglier and less comfy. What was long as hell with this was the fact that you needed a new pair every year because you either outgrew them or battered them in football at lunch. Shoe shopping was actually the longest day ever. Literally looking around shops to find a pair of shoes that fit and wouldn't get you clowned on by other kids. This was the worst. I get that the schools wanted us to look smart, but in reality we were literally still kids. It wasn't that deep. Another one was hairstyles. I don't know if it was like this at other schools, but girls had to have their hair like a natural hair colour, and boys couldn't have their hair shorter than a grade 2. They made it out that if these rules were broken, it was going to distract the entire class. I don't think many of the lads actually followed this rule though, to be honest. We all had hair shorter than a 2, and the teachers just didn't really notice. One of the painful rules was when they wanted us to suffer with the weather conditions. If the weather was cold, and you rocked up to school in your coat, it was fine, until you got inside, when it was still cold, yet you had to take it off and freeze to death. It was also the same the other way around. On a hot day, you still had to wear your blazer and you'd get moaned at for taking it off without permission. Oh my god. I forgot we had to ask to take our blazers off in class. That was the weirdest rule. I completely forgot we had to do that. Oh my life. Teachers would act like it was a strip show. Next we have the toilet rules. The teachers would act like asking to go to the toilet was committing a crime, and never asked to go to the toilet straight after break or lunch. They won't let you because you should have went then apparently. Yet the teachers wouldn't realise that the toilets were like this at break. Absolutely impossible to go. In the off chance that they did give you permission to go, they'd give you this hall pass that you had to clip on your blazer pocket whilst you were roaming the halls trying to escape class. And if you were caught without the hall pass, teachers also roaming would have a moan acting like they were a prison guard and you were an inmate escaping. It's actually a joke that we had to ask permission to go to the toilet. It ends up being hardwired into your brain thinking it'll apply for everything. I remember the first time I asked my manager at work if I could go to the toilet and she was like, you don't need to ask, just go. And it was like I'd seen a whole other world. The same applied at uni as well, and it just seemed crazy. Next up is food rules. No eating in class. But then the lunch breaks are way too short to actually eat. My school had 30 minutes for lunch, and by the time you'd spent queuing for your food, it was time to go to class again, which was so painful for the people at the back of that queue. But yeah, back on the no food in class. I remember my mate being so hungry in either like period 1 or 2 before break. He went to the toilet to go and scran a bag of crisps, which was hilarious, but he wouldn't have needed to do it if he could just eat in class. Another annoying one was the certain bans on things like chewing gum. I think the issue schools see with this is that the kids will stick it under the table, but the thing is, I'd say it only gets stuck under the table when kids brick it when the teacher comes over, so they hide it by putting it there. If it wasn't banned, people would probably just bin it like a normal person, as it isn't really any risk of punishment for having chewing gum. Most schools also ban any drink that isn't water. I get banning energy drinks because having caffeinated kids running around would be chaos. But simple things like squash being banned is pretty depressing, so you have to have water. I never really had an issue with this one because my primary drink is water, but most kids are fussy and refuse to drink it. I think squash should have been a compromise on this rule, but some teachers just love a power trip. Now we've got the phone confiscation rule. So no phones in class, I get it. And getting it confiscated if you can't follow it, fair enough. But then getting it back was the most difficult part. It wasn't as simple as getting it back after class. At my school, one of your parents had to come and collect your phone after school between the hours of 4 and 6 PM, which was questionable. But it's not even like you could tell your parents because the school had your phone. Sometimes the school would even confiscate your phone for a week, which was literal robbery. I don't understand how the schools got away with this. If I get into some trouble on the walk home from school and can't contact anyone, I'm suing the school. Finally, we have one of the most extreme and random rules. Entering a classroom in complete silence. It was weird because most days it didn't matter if you were chatting, but some days the teachers would be in a mood and make you enter in silence. And if the class didn't, you'd be forced to leave the classroom and do it until you were finally silent. Then the teacher would have the audacity to say, "It's your learning time you're losing, not mine." Like anyone actually cared about it. I think most people were grateful to skip the first 10 minutes of the teacher rambling, to be honest. At this point, schools are just going to ban breathing because it's too disruptive. Comment some of your school's questionable rules if I missed any. Like and subscribe if you can relate. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next Sunday.